Good evening. I'm Nancy Grace. And somewhere the devil is dancing tonight because slut top mom Casey Anthony's walking free. That bitch is all I think about. I have to see my collage behind me. It's all I think about. Casey Anthony, top mom. You see, I have a plate of tater tots in front of me. Tots all the time. Tots, tots, tots. Well, you see, these Necronomicon fellows asked me to do an intro for their finale on Casey Anthony, so I happily obliged. They're good boys, these Necronomicon fellas. Not like that evil slut, Casey Anthony. I'm wearing this mask. It's not for COVID, so I don't breathe any of the same air as that slut, Casey Anthony. I'm on the same planet. I don't want to breathe slut top mom air, so I wear this mask 24 hours a day. You can burn in hell, Casey Anthony, slut. Now here's part 2 of Necronomipod series on the Slut Master General, Casey Top Mom Anthony. Good night.
To close out our series on the death of Kaylee Anthony, we discuss the trial of her mom, Casey Anthony. We'll look at the evidence provided by the prosecution, the strategy of the defense team, and of course, break down the controversial verdict made by the jury. We'll also discuss a key piece of evidence missed by the prosecution, and take a look at what Casey has been doing since the trial ended almost a decade ago. I'm Mike.
I'm Ian.
And I'm Dave. If you thought part 1 contained a lot of falsehoods, stick around. Tonight's episode has more tall tales than Mike's alleged college sexcapades. This is Necronomipod.
Because Kaylee is dead and her body decomposed just 15 houses away from where the Anthonys put their head on the pillow every night, every day, searching for this little girl. Now, I know it is our duty as American citizens to respect the jury system. And I do. Believe me, I do. I've struck over 100 juries. But I know one thing. As the defense sits by and has their champagne toast after that not guilty verdict, somewhere out there, the devil is dancing tonight.
So I actually forgot about this until a couple hours ago when, Dave, you reminded me that last week I said I was going to ask you for your best horror movies of 2020.
Well, I wish I wouldn't have reminded you because I was in a panic thinking I forgot all about this, but you had forgot. So if I wouldn't have reminded you, we could have passed it up.
Literally had no open conversation ready for the show until you said that. Yeah. I probably would have just ranked my favorite gas station hot dogs to start the show, and that would have been it.
It's just not entertaining or delicious
would have
or satisfying or in any way edible.
You say that, yet you have never tried one, not a single one. It's very ignorant, Dave.
Come on, man.
I'm just saying, speaking of never seen or had or tried, your favorite horror movies of 2020, I think you struggled a little bit.
I went back and looked, and I'm very deficient in my horror watching for 2020. I don't know if it was the pandemic or...
You mean when you're inside doing nothing but watching movies and eating?
Right, it's the opposite.
Uber
It
Eats.
doesn't make any sense.
And it started because you had said that horror movies get shit on by the Academy.
They don't get any
They never
respect.
get nominated at the Oscars for anything.
They don't. Like, take, for example, Hereditary. Hereditary was an absolute masterpiece and 100% should have been nominated for Best Picture. And Toni Collette should have been nominated for Best Actress, without a doubt. Ian, I know you would agree.
100%.
I mean, that movie is fantastic. So, yeah, horror gets left out of
And to be clear, Dave, how many Academy Awards did that movie get nominated for?
I don't believe any.
The answer is 0. We're looking for
I believe
0.
it's 0, yeah.
Yeah.
Toni Collette is fucking phenomenal in everything. So that was a real snub in my opinion.
Apparently, Necronomipod's a big Toni Collette fan.
I love Toni Collette.
I love her too.
Little Miss Sunshine's a good movie. I love that movie.
Fantastic.
It's an underrated movie for the record.
I actually just watched on Netflix the other night. It's called I'm Thinking of Ending Things, and she was in that. It's really good.
See, I heard that movie was not really good, and I have not watched it yet.
I liked it.
But I'll watch it if you'd say it's good.
Yeah, I liked
Aw.
it, but I read the book is supposed to be a lot better, so I kind of want to read the book.
Okay. That's a Chuck Palahniuk book, isn't it? Or is it someone else?
What was the name of the?
I'm thinking of Ending Things. No, it's not.
Unless they changed the name.
No, it's who is it?
Not a Palahniuk.
I forget.
Novel.
Yeah. Anyway, all right, I'm gonna go back and watch that.
So, but Dave, your list for 2020 then?
So I went back and looked last year, and I for whatever reason, I did not watch a lot of horror movies last year, which is unusual. But here, what I did watch, my top 3: Possessor, which is fucking fantastic. If no one's ever seen Possessor, I think I turned Ian onto that. You watched that, right?
Yeah, it was really good.
It's crazy. It's what's his name? Brandon Cronenberg, David Cronenberg's son. David Cronenberg of who like directed Scanners and some other great movies. And then The Host, which we talked about before, which is shot just over Zoom, I think the whole movie mostly.
I have not heard
It
of
was
this.
really good.
That sounds fucked
Yeah.
up.
It was terrifying, man. It was a great movie. And then the third one, I'm going to go with this movie called Run. I don't know if you've seen that, Ian. I know Mike hasn't. I won't even bother asking him, but
No,
I thought it was really good. Yeah. So Run, that's my third one.
Okay.
An honorable mention in this list, which I didn't think it was a really great movie.
Dave, this was your own list. You didn't have to give like a top 3. You could have given a top 4. I like that you ranked it 3. I'm sure you didn't give it in the right order.
I didn't put it in any particular order, no. But there's a movie. It's
Except for
called
the honorable mention.
Antebellum, which it's an interesting story. I don't think the movie was that great, but Janelle Monáe is so fantastic that it's being added to my list. So you watch it just for her, just for the fact that she's in it.
So if you're a Janelle Monáe fan, you
She's
probably already have seen
fantastic.
Annabellum because she's not the biggest name star.
Right. Really
Check it
good
out.
performance by her. The movie could have been a little better, but it's worth a watch, in my opinion.
Stamp of approval from Dave Namapod.
Absolutely. That's all I got. I'm really delinquent though. I saw 20 movies still on my list that I never got to for whatever reason.
You
but
slacked. You slacked this
Maybe I
past
was
year.
working on a show, Mike. Maybe I was working
Where
on
are you?
Bible Babble
For 12
Did you ever
months?
think about
for
that?
12 months?
Maybe.
For that one episode,
Maybe.
Pally? We're in big trouble.
Maybe I do a lot of homework.
Big trouble. You have a new Bible Babble coming out this month.
I do.
Yeah. Any spoilers? No? You don't have, I mean, I'm not setting you up for anything. I'm just asking for if anyone wants, if you know, those few listeners out there who have not yet signed up for the $10 tier of Patreon.
We are going to play a game of Bible trivia with a couple of special guests on the show.
Ooh.
Bible trivia.
Wow.
What is more exciting than Bible trivia?
Do
Am I
you
right?
play the role of priest and they play the role of altar boys?
That is not how it went.
Oh.
But the outcome of Bible trivia, somebody won free incense, and the loser got molested by the priest who was waiting out in the hallway.
Wow. I hope you at least fed them some of those little wafer cracker gimmicks.
Wow, you can't play trivia with hungry.
Yeah, it's true. I had something else. Ian, I wanted to ask you. So you might not know if they actually came out in the last year or not. You're not quite the cinephile Dave is, but you have any horror movie recommendations that you've watched recently? Dave gave his.
While you guys were talking about that, I was looking at the list of 2020 horror movies. Stuff I saw on the list that I liked. The Dark and the Wicked was good.
I got one more, Ian. I'm sorry to cut you off, but you watched The Lodge, right? And that's on my list. That you said it was really good. And I haven't watched that yet.
Yeah, that was good. The Rental was pretty good. Amulet was really good. I really liked Amulet. That movie is kind of like, you get to a certain point in it, you're like, whoa, what the fuck just happened? Like, what am I watching now?
Ian did a lot better than me last year. You know what else I forgot to mention? I'm sorry to interrupt again. Is the follow-up to Train to Busan, the Korean zombie horror movie. It's still on my list. I haven't watched that part 2, the sequel.
Interesting.
Dude, you're a slacking. I don't think you're the
I don't know what I've been
authority.
doing.
You're not the authority anymore on horror movies, I feel like.
I don't know what happened to me last year. I was doing other stuff, I guess.
Hey, it's a new year. Start fresh.
Yeah,
Get them all knocked out. And then catch up on all those new ones that are going to be coming out in 2021.
Yeah, that was about it. The Host was good. Like Dave said, Possessor was good. I don't know. That movie's coming up. I'm thinking of Ending Things. It's coming up as a horror movie. I don't know if I would consider it a horror movie, but it was. I really liked it.
Here's another one, Ian. Remember She Dies Tomorrow? You turned me on to that.
Oh yeah, that movie was good.
That was a trippy one. Well, I wouldn't say it's horror, but it was entertaining. Different.
That's kind of what I'm thinking of Ending Things is like.
Okay.
It's like a real trippy kind of makes you really would think about what you're watching a little bit.
Like a couple of the mainstream ones I watched were not good. Like Invisible Man was just not good.
Yeah, it wasn't good.
Terrible. Or that other one, that other Kevin Bacon movie. You know what I'm talking about? I can't remember the name of it, but it's just bad.
Welcome to Movie Talk with Mike, Dave, and Ian. Mike will be silent for the next 20 minutes as Ian and Dave discuss horror films from the last 20 years.
That's a good show. We should do that too.
Movie Talk?
Movie Talk?
That would be fun.
Might have to sit that one out, fellas.
Obviously.
Don't think I'd have a lot to add to that.
Mike, you still
series.
breathing? Hello? Are you still there?
Yeah, maybe I'll run the soundboard for that episode alone.
Go home and watch Die Hard. You can be on next week's
No,
show,
thank you.
Fucko.
Pass. I'd rather quit this job. Fuck Bruce Willis. Piece of shit. I would have to say my favorite horror movie from the last year that I saw was Hostel. Real good.
The Hostel.
The Hostel. The Hostel.
What the fuck did that come out? Like 2008 or?
Yeah, that's about 12
I also
to
like
15 years
that
old.
movie, A Road Trip. It was real good too. I do really like both of those movies for the record. I know they came out forever ago. Those are really good movies.
I prefer Hostel 2. I thought it was better.
Which is the scene where they cut the Achilles tendon. Remember they had that
That's
girl.
the first one.
Yeah. One of the most difficult scenes I've ever had to see in a movie.
It's tough to watch the
She stands up
Achilles
and then she
cut.
tries to walk.
Yeah.
Oh, I'll make myself tag.
I think the second one's better with Bijou Phillips and
I've
that's
seen it.
really
They're
good.
Fucked up movies, man. Fucked up.
Torture porn.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
Not my kink, but hey, Blue Chew, if you're looking for an outlet, we just had a perfect segue. And you weren't here because you didn't pay us. So, speaking of Blue Chew, Ian, part 2.
Jeez.
Where we left off on part 1, Casey Anthony had been charged with first-degree murder for the murder of her daughter, Kaylee. Kaylee's remains were found by a guy named Roy Kronk, who stupidly picked up the skull by the eye socket with a stick before calling police. The medical examiner had also ruled that the death was a homicide but couldn't determine the cause of death. By the time Kaylee was found, her remains were completely skeletal, and animals had torn into the black garbage bag she was stored in, and presumably fed on her body to some degree. Because this is Florida with rain and humidity, Kaylee's body had also been underwater at certain points because this wooded area flooded at times, which also sped up decomposition and pretty much washed away a lot of the evidence.
So disrespectful.
What police found were 3 pieces of duct tape, with one still attached to the jawbone. Crime scene photos, we're going to talk about them in a bit here, but they're blurred out. So nobody can really see for themselves where the duct tape is as far as the crime scene photos are. The prosecution and the defense are going to debate is if it was on or near. Like that's like the two things that they're both hitting on.
Well, they had access to the unredacted photos or no? Are you saying the photos they took were not good and they were blurred?
I know the ones that are released to the public are blurred out.
Okay, but they had access to the original.
Yeah. But the thing, the prosecution says it was on the bone or on the skull, and the defense will say no, it was near the jaw. Like it's real, and then in the public you can't see it for yourself.
Right.
So it's just the skull also had residue from duct tape on it and a heart-shaped sticker. But the sticker wasn't photographed and never was entered into evidence. The residue from the heart-shaped sticker was lost after testing of the duct tape was done, so this was a complete missed piece of evidence.
Is there a fuck up in every case like this? Because, like in the evidence chain of command handling, because there seems to be always something. Like someone didn't do something right.
I mean, in all fairness, the ones we cover are also cases that are under extreme scrutiny. Where they're looking at everything.
So you think it's just
I would
the
imagine
norm?
every police investigation is not flawless.
Yeah.
There's mistakes that happen. And I don't think you can necessarily hold that against them. And in like a case like this, like where in part 1, they had done a pretty good job. This isn't a West Memphis 3 or a JonBenet Ramsey type situation. So
you think that's standard? No one's perfect. There's always kind of forensic mishaps.
I would imagine in most cases of
like in every movie there is. They're like, did you put that cigarette, that butt out officer in my crime scene?
Like what we're going to get into here in a minute, even. Like I was thinking about this earlier. What's this dude's name? The Kronk guy? Roy Kronk. So maybe I'll save it for then. But I mean, we're talking about it now. Like they made a whole big thing about how like he touched the skull with the stick. if I'm walking through the woods, I'm not going to believe that a skull sitting there is real. I'm going to think it's like a decoration. Like, I'm not going to embarrass myself and call 911 and be like, I found a dead body. And they're going to show me be like, motherfucker, this is from Spencer Gifts. Like, I don't fall. And I understand that's not police. So I'm getting off topic. That's not the police.
Yeah.
But like, that was held against this whole investigation and this whole trial for an average Joe just trying to figure out, hey, is this fucking a real thing? I would probably do the same thing.
Pick it up, move it in some way.
I'm not going to touch it with my bare hands, but I'm going to want to make sure it's real. And I understand that's not the police, but at the same time, everyone's going to nitpick when there's these high profile cases.
That's fair.
And I know that's a bad example because he's not the police, but I do stand by the initial statement. There's probably little mistakes in every police investigation. They're not perfect human beings, and you can't expect them to be. I think that's unfair to expect them to be perfect.
Fair enough, Mike. Point taken.
Inside the black garbage bag, there was also a blanket that was from a matching bedroom set in the Anthony home, it was a Winnie the Pooh bedroom set. There was an outfit of Kaylee's, a pair of shorts that are that denim looking material for toddlers, but it's soft. It's not like actual jean material. And a pink shirt that said, "Here comes Big Trouble." There's a picture of Kaylee wearing the exact same outfit with Casey. And even though the skull's blurred out in all the crime scene photos like we were just talking about, it's still a tough picture side by side, seeing her alive wearing the outfit and then the outfit all muddy and ruined with a blurred out skull sitting next to it in the woods.
Did you look at this photo, Dave? I will not look at this.
No.
I know Ian does because he's doing the research and stuff, so he's kind of forced to.
I haven't.
I don't want to see this photo.
Yeah, you can't. There's nothing graphic in it, but
no, I know.
I don't know if it's because I have a daughter in the same age range or if I'm getting a little more sensitive.
Just the way you even explain it in the notes, though, like it's that's tough to think about and to look at. It's the same way you did with and I know it's more graphic, but the way you described the JonBenet photos, like you said those were terrible, and I have still to this day never looked at them, and I never will. Like I don't want to see that shit.
Those are not great. Yeah.
I didn't look at the West Memphis 3 photos. Like, I don't want to see that stuff. Apparently, everyone who watched that documentary saw them, and they're telling us about it. And
it's awful.
They did not love it. I guess in the first few minutes they show it.
It's immediately, yeah.
Yeah, you're hit with that right off the bat.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't think that needs to be done.
It did not need to be in that movie.
First of all,
in my opinion,
a case like that is just, I guess, interesting enough. You don't need to dramatize it by showing that. Like, we get it.
There's a level of respect that's due to victims that's just not called for.
I agree.
In a documentary like that.
I think we try not to do that with our social posts. Like, we try not to show disrespectful posts for victims. Hopefully we don't.
I mean, that People magazine picture you posted last week is tough to look at. I mean, it's
just a photo of a cute girl.
Man. That's tough to...
Spoiler alert, there's more of those coming, but it's a photo of a cute girl. Yeah. It's not a photo of her corpse or skeleton.
Yeah.
We're not going to show that. We're not going to show, like the OJ crime scene photos, which is the worst that I've ever actually seen while doing this show, that I've actually Googled and looked at. That is
Those are pretty bad.
It is a bloodbath.
It was a bloodbath for sure. Well, he almost took her head off. It was almost all the way off.
Yeah. Anyways, such a happy episode, isn't it?
Getting to the media aspect of this case a little more, this was the top story for ratings with news stations, and it was the first case like this in the social media age. We talked about viewership during OJ and like how Domino's had record sales during the Bronco chase, and the money that was made from tabloids during JonBenet's case. And this one was no different. There were 3 years to cover between Kaylee disappearing and when the trial started. Casey Anthony was locked up for those 3 years, and no one hit this case harder than Nancy Grace. Every night, Nancy was crushing the prime time hours, with 8 p.m. having 2.9 million viewers and 9 p.m. having 2.2 million viewers. Like, that's crazy for prime time.
It's big numbers.
Now, Ian, we had to talk about this tot mom bitch.
Wait, I know some of you couldn't understand that. Let me translate. Wah, wah, wah. Sorry, that's what I heard.
Disgusting tot mom. Party slut.
Why does she call her a tot mom?
She likes tater tots, Mike, obviously. She's from the South.
I like tater tots.
I love tater
Well, she's from
tots.
Ohio, first of all. Toots.
Nancy Grace.
Nancy Grace.
Is she from Ohio?
Casey.
Nancy Grace. Where's she from?
But I thought she was calling her Casey a tot mom because she likes tater tots.
Mike, who's on second? What?
What?
I don't know. She was a toddler. Tot mom.
what?
Tot mom.
What?
You dirty bitch. Tot mom. Fucking hate Nancy Grace. That goddamn stupid Karen haircut.
I'm so glad it's not me this week. Last week it was me. This week it's Dave. For the record, she was probably right on this one. Maybe. We'll get to that at the end. But she's a trifling human being, Nancy Grace.
Yeah.
Second, let's not just skip over the fact that tater tots are an extremely underrated side dish.
Not by me, they're not.
What does that mean?
I don't underrate them at all. I
fucking love
overrate
them.
them,
You
if
love them.
anything.
You love
Yes, of course.
You get a good crispy brown tater tot.
What do you mean? What does that mean?
Tater tot is fucking delicious. Well, I thought you meant like you didn't like them.
Love tater tots.
They're so good.
They're great.
Yeah. More people need to start fucking having
Do
tater
people
tots.
not like tater tots?
I just don't think they're talked about enough. People like splooge over French fries. The tater tot business is where it's at.
Way better.
I agree.
Should we
I
do
agree.
a tater tots podcast?
Well, I think we're getting a little insane. After one episode, where do we go? Where do we go from there, Dave?
Oh, we just call it a day. That was it. One episode.
It's just us eating, like dipping in ketchup or
yeah, like, oh,
ranch.
these are really good.
Well, bye. So anyways, Nancy Grace.
Go on, Ian, talk about the slut top mom.
To put that viewership in perspective, CNN and Fox News were close to matching and sometimes beating Nancy Grace when they ran stories about Casey Anthony. So there are a fuck ton of people tuning in to see what's going on with this case.
Yeah, clearly.
Remember that scene in the newsroom where they're getting all frustrated because the only thing that's getting them ratings is the Casey Anthony trial? Do you remember that? And
No.
they're like, is this all there is to talk about? Like, we need to come up with something else.
It was really her?
They talked about the Casey Anthony
I don't
trial.
remember.
Yeah,
It's
on the
been a long
newsroom.
time.
Newsroom, fantastic show for those of you out there. And I know coming from me, that means nothing because I've watched 4 things in my life. But, you know, the newsroom. Jeff Daniels,
It was a
fucking
great
awesome.
show. I just don't remember that part. Yeah.
Olivia Munn, the superior Olivia, if we're going to be honest.
I would agree.
When the verdict was read in this case, news websites were getting 3.3 million clicks per minute, and Twitter and Facebook weren't able to count posts because they were coming in too fast, which means that posts were coming in faster than 10 per second. So with this type of coverage, it was going to be extremely hard to get an unbiased jury.
Mike's too lazy to go to the keg tonight. He's just opening cans instead.
I had some cans, I was going to use them.
Trying to find jurors who were qualified dwindled down to eventually getting people from Clearwater, Florida to be jurors.
Well, I don't know if that's qualified. They're probably Scientologists, right?
Right?
I don't know if you want that jury pool.
What's funny is I actually took that as, and I know that's where Scientology obviously is. Like, they're just like the most laid back people on earth. Like, if you're in Clearwater, which is a fucking gorgeous town, by the way,
Yeah.
like you're just like relaxed, like the most chill probably person in the
Yeah.
world. It's if you're going to subjugate yourself to Florida, at least go to Clearwater. Like, have some self-respect.
Love Clearwater.
Yeah.
It's so nice.
I was there for one long weekend, and there was like always a breeze off the ocean, so that humidity didn't kill you.
It's fantastic.
Fantastic
Great
bars.
town.
Yeah, big fan. But don't become a Scientologist.
The prosecution wanted women on the jury, and the defense wanted as many men as possible. Polls were showing that only 11% of men thought that there was a definite chance Casey was guilty, and only 9% of men were angry about the case. And, you know, in short, Casey's looks played a huge role when it came to men.
Oh, is she a good looking girl? I hadn't noticed. Yeah, I guess she's all right.
Not my cup of tea, but okay. I mean, I guess I get it.
Yeah, you know.
Maybe.
The prosecution generally wanted women on the jury, but the defense was a little more specific. They wanted to avoid women who were mothers in the age range of 20 to 40 years old and any single mothers. They didn't want jurors to be able to identify themselves with Casey on a personal level.
Yeah, I bet they didn't.
Right. When it came to men, they really wanted men who were fathers 45 years or older.
Oh, that's a great group of people there. 45-year-old fathers. And yeah, I don't know. Seems like a legitimate jury base.
What's that like, Dave? Being 45 or older?
It's not too bad.
I wouldn't. I mean, at that point, put me out of my misery is how I'd imagine it.
Jesus.
Like, man.
Well, we'll see you in 10 years and see how you feel.
Oh, you won't. I'll be put out long before that. Send me out guns blazing. I'll be out at 39.
Well, the thought behind this was they could get sympathy for the defense that they're gonna lay out. We're gonna be talking about, and that fathers would be more forgiving towards a daughter when it came to the blatant lies that Casey had been telling.
It's a very smart strategy. It
100%. Absolutely.
What interests me about a lot of these cases is the jury selection process and the way
It's everything.
the defense and the prosecution play it. Like, because you have a strategy, but you can only do so much in that situation, and just their way they go about it. To me, that's the most fascinating part of a lot of these cases.
Absolutely is. It makes or breaks the whole trial.
Coming soon to Necronomicon Hub Patreon. Mike, Dave, and Ian break down jury selection while eating tater tots.
Juror number one. Please tell us your thoughts.
Again, I want to bring up Curb Your Enthusiasm, but I don't want to. It's just a hilarious scene. Anyways, watch it.
Ultimately, the panel of jurors ended up being 9 women and 8 men. The first criticism of the prosecution came in the fact that they were seeking the death penalty for Casey instead of life in prison. Sentencing someone to death changes the stakes completely, and you have to have a jury willing to be the ones that are going to put that person to death. How this has been reported is only one of the jurors in the Casey Anthony case believed strongly in the death penalty, and the rest were on the fence when it came to it. So that's going to be an uphill battle right off the bat for the prosecution.
See, that has to be a question that's asked in the jury selection process, right? Because, like, if you get someone who's just completely against the death penalty, period, you don't want them on the
You can ask that.
but that's what I don't like.
You can't
Can you?
exclude anyone who doesn't believe in the death penalty from a capital case, right?
I don't know. I don't know.
I mean, you get...
But, like, if you get that person, then you're fucked. Because this person, then, if they're against the death penalty, is not going to convict based solely on that. Right? I mean, if that person sticks to,
well, I mean, there's 2 phases. There's convicting, and then there's the sentencing. Does the sentencing also have to be a unanimous jury decision? To convict is a unanimous jury decision. Say you're convicted and the jury's 11-1 on sentencing. Does it have to be unanimous to sentence someone to death?
I don't know. But if they're going at this saying, and I'm just talking this out, if they're going at this saying, we want, federal, I don't know, what the fuck with the charges? The capital murder.
First degree murder.
First degree. I mean, you got to kind of know, right? Like if you convict.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. Meaning you're going to, even if you could convict and not vote for the death penalty, they might be put to death. So you're less likely to convict. I think this is one of the biggest things in this case is,
excuse me,
first degree murder, capital murder charge is a bit of an overstretch in this case. I think that's where they went wrong. Like there's no evidence to support that charge.
You're trying to play on everybody agreeing on this one, where if you just get one person that's just like, she's guilty, but she doesn't need to die, then that's it. You just threw away your case.
And optics being what they are, I think it's a lot easier for people to sentence a 45-year-old degenerate guy who there's clear evidence that he killed a couple people to death versus a 22-year-old girl who may or may not have been directly or indirectly responsible for the death of her daughter. It's just, that's a tough scenario.
They're more than likely to call a 45-year-old poor person who can't defend themselves likely to commit murder and die.
Absolutely.
And they were an attractive white woman from...
That's just how things are in this country.
Just makes it a lot easier for them.
Absolutely.
So I think we kind of agree in the end.
Yeah.
We took the long way about it, saying, yeah, we agree.
It's just it's a bad call. This is not the kind of case where the evidence just does not support a capital murder charge with the death penalty specification. It just doesn't.
Welcome to the Mike and Dave show. A special guest today, Ian. We allow him to talk occasionally. Dave and I will break down our drunk asses will break down the points of how to run a trial, with no legal education. There's lawyers listening to us right now like, these fucking idiots.
Look, young, pretty white girls are not subject to the same
Has a young, pretty white girl ever been sentenced to capital punishment? I'd like to know.
Of course not.
I'd like to know.
It's just, that's all I got.
Jodi Arias got life in prison.
Yeah.
See?
Yeah.
Well, I said pretty. She's not pretty.
Get out of here.
I mean, maybe if they had, if there was video of her strangling her kid or something, but the evidence just does not support. Even then, it's a
there
stretch.
would have been an excuse.
That's right.
Her mental health, her, something. She was abused, her trauma.
I don't know. Have any of those women that killed their kids? Like, there's been a couple cases, right, where they drove their kids into the water. There was that one. There was one in New York, in Texas. You know what I'm talking about? Andrea Yates and Susan Smith. They murdered all their kids. Were any of those women ever sentenced to death? I don't know.
I think our country has made it very clear who gets put on death row and who doesn't.
Without a doubt.
And I think it's disgusting. And I think that's, relating it back, like that's part of the issue here is, you overcharged her and here we go.
Which cops do all the time. They love to overcharge because then they get you to plea down when you didn't fucking do anything to begin. But that's a whole nother story. Like, all right, stop. We can't go into
Welcome to Dave and Mike now talk politics.
That's the DA's MO. They fucking overcharge you with felonies to get you to plead guilty to a misdemeanor that you never did in the first place because it's the easiest way and every case gets played out.
Hey, remember your heart rate. Settle down. It's okay.
God damn.
Settle down, Nancy Grace.
Well, that's what they did in this case.
Fired up right now. I love it.
Look, it's a fucking problem, all right?
I agree. Just not in this case, though, maybe necessarily.
Sorry, Ian. Continue.
They tried to get her to take a plea deal multiple times in this, and she just absolutely would not budge.
There you go. They overcharge on the capital murder charge. They're like, you're gonna be convicted. We're gonna put you to death. So plead guilty and do life in prison, right? That's what they try to do.
Or she was such a narcissist that she just thought, no, I did nothing wrong. I'm fine.
And I'm hot. No jury will convict me.
Can I get to a Hot Topic to, or American Eagle to buy the clothes before they close at 6 o'clock? I need a new pair of, ripped jeans.
See?
Which
That's
is
why
what
they
I actually
overcharge. See?
No, but I think in this case, she was just too narcissistic to accept a plea deal. I think.
Yeah.
This isn't some poor, black woman who they're overcharging just to, hey, let's just cut this deal and then we win.
Which is what always happens.
Right. But this is a case where I think she was just like, oh, I'm going to beat this. It's not a problem.
Yeah.
In her mind, she was convinced she was in the right from the beginning, probably.
Yeah. Oh, you didn't put your hands behind your back in 0.25 seconds? Felony resisting arrest, bitch. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, that never happens.
Could have just shot her.
I'm in a mood. I'm in a mood tonight.
Yeah. I can tell.
Goddamn. We were on page 2 of 12, boys. Also, you know what? Here's a good chance. I'm going to pee. I'm going to let Dave recollect himself. Ian, you leave this all in because I want everyone to hear. I'm taking a pee break. We're all going to regroup. Who would have thought that this episode would have went from people worrying about Dave and I, just jerking off to Casey Anthony to us just getting into the system and Dave going off on it.
There's a lot of the system conversation in this story.
There absolutely is because next week we'll talk about cash bail and how fucking bad that is. Tune in then.
This is Dave Talks Crime. Coming soon to a Patreon near you. All right, I'm going to pee real quick.
I thought he was joking. He wasn't getting up.
You have to pee. 2 pages here.
The trial began on May 24th, 2011 at the Orange County Courthouse with Judge Belvin Perry presiding. The prosecution focused on the words child-free life, whose life was better with Kaylee gone. Prosecutor Linda Burdick laid out every day that Kaylee was missing, like all 31 days in detail. They laid out all of Casey's lies and presenting pictures from the hot body contest, going after her character and painting her out to be like this wild party girl.
And did Hot Mom shave her beaver before the trial? I bet she did, that slut. Tune in tonight on Nancy Grace to find out about the Hot Mom slut's beaver.
And 3 million people tune in.
Dirty slut.
Prosecutors stated that Casey used chloroform to render Kaylee unconscious, then put duct tape over her nose and mouth to suffocate her, and then left Kaylee's body in the trunk of her car for a few days before disposing of it because, like all of Casey's lies, she didn't have a real plan. Just move forward and things will work themselves out.
That's just not something the normal person can do. Like, you try to envision what that looks like in reality. Like, how can you do that?
What do you mean?
How can you kill your kid and put her in the trunk of your car? Like, it's hard to envision.
Well,
I don't know.
we're not.
It's just hard to envision.
Yeah.
This.
When it was the defense's turn, this was like the moment everyone had been waiting for the past 3 years. Local news and Nancy Grace were hammering the evidence in this case because everything was out there. So basically anything they could get their hands on, which was pretty much almost all of the evidence. So everyone was like on the edge of their seats waiting to hear how Jose Baez was going to defend Casey. Jose Baez claimed in opening statements that Kaylee drowned accidentally in the family's pool on June 16, 2008, and was found by George Anthony, who told Casey she would spend the rest of her life in jail for child neglect, and then proceeded to cover up Kaylee's death. Baez said that George put Kaylee's body in the garbage bag with the duct tape because that's exactly how George disposed of family pets when they died. George then told Casey if this was going to work, she needed to move on with life, and that's why she didn't report Kaylee as missing for those 31 days.
The thing with this, George is a retired cop. Like, even the dumbest of cops knows that's not going to work, right? And we'll come up with a better plan than this.
I 100% agree.
I mean, this is not even a plausible story at all.
If you were going to be in on it, you would do a better job than this. As a retired cop, you've seen your fair share of investigations. Like, you know what police are going to look for.
Right.
To address Casey's extravagant lies, because there was no getting around those, Baez said this was a learned behavior by Casey from years of molestation by George and her brother Lee. Casey had to lie to everyone about what was going on since she was 8 years old, and lying became a defense mechanism for her. This was a massive bombshell that the media and everyone went crazy over. You know, it's like we said, 3 years of saying the same shit over and over again. And then Jose Baez dropped this bomb, and he laid this out in very graphic detail to get the point across to the jury. And one of the things he said about lying was, quote, at 13, she'd have her father's penis in her mouth and then go to school and play as if nothing was wrong. Like, when I watched the video of him saying that, like, I was taken back. I was like, oh.
Nobody was
shit.
expecting that, yeah.
No, and he was, like, yelling it. He was pointing at the jury, like, really getting passionate about it. I'm like, God damn. So if I was on the jury, I'd be like, oh, shit. He was an actor, and he played the role perfectly for these opening statements. And keep in mind that George was pretty much told that this was going to be the angle that the defense was taking when he walked into the courtroom that day. The prosecution told him that he couldn't react to any of it. So when he's sitting there with no emotion, you know, some people judge him, and it's not like he's some cold sociopath. That's what he was told to do. And I'm sure he was in some form of shock that this was going to be blasted out to the whole world by his daughter.
Yeah, imagine that.
But what was the? I don't mean to jump ahead, but I don't think we even get into it. What was the end game then of the prosecution? Like, oh, don't react because we'll make this better. But then you really don't. Like, wouldn't some emotion have done them better instead of sitting there stone cold, looking like a hard ass? Like, if you had been sitting there crying or looking like, why would she be saying this about me?
I just think it
like,
could be construed as you got caught and now everyone
but as
knows,
opposed to what? You sit there looking stone cold and they don't capitalize on that.
I don't know.
I don't think there was any good way for him to react, to be completely honest.
Yeah.
I don't disagree, but then why act, first of all, I give him a ton of credit if he was able to keep his composure, but then, to be able to like have him sit through something like that and not be able to respond or react and be like, oh, no, keep it together.
It's tough.
We got this.
Is there any thought that he was in on this with the defense and he was taking one, letting himself be thrown under the bus to attempt to get his daughter out of this?
According to him, no.
I just wonder if that's a possibility. It seems unlikely, but
I think it's a possibility. And, maybe as we go later down the road, there's your reasonable doubt or something, but it is crazy to hear out of nowhere something like that.
Yeah. But that's what you're looking for sometimes. Just bombshells and throwing up whatever you can, and just to create even that little sliver of doubt. And
so is Baez that good of an attorney, or is he just that good of an attorney?
Yeah. I guess we're going to find out.
Well, we never will. I mean, we know what happens, but...
Well, the people listening don't, Mike. Why don't you let them have their show?
I didn't spoil anything.
Why are you spoiling it?
I didn't spoil a damn thing. I didn't spoil a damn thing.
Baez then turned his attention in the opening statements to Roy Kronk and said that not only had Kronk contaminated the crime scene, but he did it on purpose. He said that Kronk wasn't genuine about those calls to the tip line on August 11th, 12th, and 13th, that he actually moved Kaylee's body to the area she was found in on December 11th and held off on making sure police found her to maximize publicity in hopes of making money.
Is there any proof of this?
I think that's a bit of a fucking stretch, man. I mean, when last week I said Jose Baez pretty much Casey Anthony'd his way through this trial, I think this is another example of him just saying shit that has no basis in reality and just says it.
Like I said, just throw it out there and let's see what sticks.
Roy Kronk called the tip line 3 days in a row. And now Jose Baez is going to be like, well, he was just making all that up. Like, he didn't give a shit.
Right.
He didn't fucking care.
I don't know.
The prosecution's first witness was George Anthony, because now they had to address these claims that he sexually abused Casey, which he obviously denied. And I think everyone can collectively agree that George did not molest Casey Anthony, and the same goes for her brother Lee. Like, Lee Anthony is a non-entity in this story, and now he's being thrown under the bus that he sexually abused Casey when all this guy was doing was just trying to live his life.
Ian, go ahead.
No,
We have the same joke.
I assume he's older. No, I was just going to ask. I assume he's older, right? Her brother.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was going to say, Ian, can we assume he's the Burke of this story? Just a poor brother living his life?
Yeah, he wasn't doing anything, And
Like,
then all of a sudden, Jose Baez is like throwing him under the bus. And like,
Man, I'd be
throwing him under the bus to the point.
I'd be arrested at that point because I would go after an attorney who was accusing me of raping someone that I clearly had nothing to do with. I'd go to jail.
Again, I don't think everything's always visible. Like, is it possible the family got together with Jose Baez and this is the story they came up with, and like, we'll take one for the team if we can? I just don't always believe that what's on the surface is what actually happened.
I think it's possible. I don't think it's likely.
Yeah.
I don't know. Up until this point, did Casey? She didn't display any behaviors that were attributed to past victims of sexual assault, right?
No, and there's prison recordings of her with her father, right? That would not lead you to believe that this was the kind of relationship, right?
Yeah, I mean, they're talking like normal father and daughter.
Yeah,
and
right. I've missed you.
She's talking about
yeah.
how much she wants to get out and be able to see him and stuff.
Yeah,
and
right.
So, like, there's no evidence to support any of this other than Jose Baez's claims. That's it.
Right.
That's it. Take it for what it is, but that is what it is.
Yes.
In the beginning here, that was pushed far enough to where the FBI did a DNA test on George and Lee to make sure that they weren't the father of Kaylee.
That's fucked up. That's so fucked up.
Yeah.
Can you imagine being Lee? Like, okay, fucking take my DNA to make sure my sister's daughter is not mine.
Yeah.
Like, imagine if it is, as we all believe, to be complete bullshit, and you're Lee. Like, what the fuck?
Oh, I don't.
I'd be flipping tables. I'd be flipping tables, as I think most people would.
Of course they would.
George also testified that he did not smell anything like human decomposition in the car on June 23rd when he and Casey got in that fight about her stealing the gas cans, because he could have potentially been close enough to the car to smell it. However, he did testify that he did smell what he believed to be the smell of a dead body on July 15th when he picked up the car from the impound lot. When it was Baez's turn to question George, everyone thought that he was going to grill George on all this molestation stuff. But Baez put a Casey Anthony twist on these claims, and he never brought it up again in the trial. He just said it happened, shocked everyone, never called a witness or any experts on those claims. Nothing.
Just planted a seed. That's all he needed to do.
Instead, Baez hit George on his January 23rd, 2009 suicide attempt. George had driven to Daytona Beach, took a bunch of pills along with a ton of alcohol in an attempt to commit suicide. He sent out a few texts saying bye to people, and that's how he ended up being located by medics. He was found unconscious in a hotel room with a 5-page suicide note that was pretty much summed up as, I failed as a husband, a father, a grandfather, and now I need to go be with Kaylee.
And so this was what, 9-10 months after Kaylee had been discovered dead. So that's to put in perspective, because when I was going through the notes, I was like, well, wait, what was the timeline on this? This was as after Kaylee had died and they were still doing the investigations. So, yeah, I mean,
it's a tough spot to be in for sure. I guess you can't fault the guy at all.
I'm not saying either way. I just wanted to put in perspective. Yeah. This was after that, his granddaughter had been found brutally murdered, and he had had some conflicts with his own daughter.
Sure.
Baez twisted this to not be a grieving grandfather that felt like he failed in life, but a man who was guilty that he disposed of his granddaughter like he did with the family pets. Baez even had George read parts of his suicide note on the stand and grilled him about what certain lines meant while George was up there crying. Like, it's just really brutal stuff.
Yeah.
Like, that takes something to be able to do that to someone, especially if it's not true.
Yeah. And it also takes someone to show the restraint that I think George showed through a lot of this. Yeah.
If
I'd have been taken out in handcuffs. I really think I'd have been taken out in handcuffs when I was accused of sexual assault and or when you're grilling me on this.
Yeah.
And I mean, if George was in on this, I would say he's the best actor ever, because if you watch the testimony with him getting grilled on this suicide note, he's like, I mean, he would win an Academy Award for the way he was crying.
To be clear, Tom Hanks is the best actor ever.
Okay. I mean, he's in contention for sure.
Cindy Anthony was next to be called regarding the smell in the trunk of the car, because on that last 911 call, Cindy said the car smelled like a damn dead body and like someone died. However, when questioned, Cindy now said that it was a, quote, figure of speech, and she was confident that what she was smelling was the bag of garbage that had all the pizza in it.
All right, so we listened to that call last week. That is not how I heard the call at all.
No.
Not figuratively. It was literally a dead body.
And her being a nurse, I would assume at some point down the line, she smelled a dead body before.
I would think.
There was a heated debate between the prosecution and the defense on whether or not the jury could smell the fabric sample for themselves to see if it smelled like rotting food or a dead body. But Judge Perry shot this down. Further getting into the smell of the trunk, in part one, we talked about Dr. Arpad Voss, who determined that there was human decomposition in the trunk of the car. Dr. Voss had his PhD in anthropology, but had come up with a way using chemistry to detect chemicals that are found when a body decomposes. His method involved putting the sample in a paint can, and after allowing it to sit and build pressure, he could pull the chemicals from the sample. This was the first time his method was used in a courtroom, but it was peer-reviewed. I mean, it was a legit test. It wasn't some,
it wasn't some
thing.
Mail-in PhD doctor like West Memphis 3 that didn't take any classes.
Yeah.
Okay.
He testified that in his research, he has found 30 chemicals that are unique to human decomposition, and the trunk had 7 of these. 5 of those chemicals were solid enough to say 100%, and 2 were trace amounts. He also testified that he detected high amounts of chloroform in the trunk. Baez hit back on Dr. Voss, pointing out the fact that Voss was an anthropologist and didn't have a degree in chemistry, which was what the whole basis of his test was on. He also focused heavy on that this method had never been used in court before and came up with a catchphrase for it, saying it was fantasy forensics.
Does that the alliteration help, Mike? Does it make you disbelieve it? If I say, oh, that's fantasy forensics.
It gave me one of the biggest boners I've had this show. So, I mean, I don't know. I haven't had many boners in this series.
That's because Blue Chew doesn't sponsor the show. That's why.
Don't even get me started. Don't even get me started.
Baez also claimed that Dr. Voss was just doing this to try and sell his test, his method, like get popularity out of doing the case.
To probably patent it and then, sell it across the country.
Yeah.
It's a legitimate pushback on that.
Baez also had an expert testify that air tests will show chloroform anytime they are ran, and chloroform is found in almost all everyday cleaning products.
You know where else they found chloroform? Mike's frat room. Mike's room in the frat house.
Nope.
Tons of it.
Nope.
So if someone had cleaned the trunk, this would explain the high amounts of chloroform. The prosecution couldn't definitively show chloroform was used to render Kaylee unconscious. They had no receipts for chemicals used to make chloroform or any physical evidence like a rag or something that would have been used to put over Kaylee's face. While we're on the subject of chloroform, let's get into the computer evidence before we move on with more forensics. The prosecution called John Bradley, a former Canadian law enforcement officer who developed software for computer investigations, to analyze data files from a desktop that was taken from the Anthony home. Bradley said he was able to use a program to recover deleted searches from March 17th and 21st, 2008, and that someone searched the website psi-spot.com for chloroform 84 times. Bradley expressed his belief that, quote, some of these items might have been bookmarked. Under cross-examination by Baez, Bradley agreed that there were 2 individual accounts on the desktop, and there was no way to know who actually did the searches.
Ian, if I could interrupt you there. Mm-hmm. I contacted John Bradley last week, and I had him perform the same forensic analysis on Mike's computer.
Yeah.
And he was able to pull Mike's search history from last week, and I just thought I'd like to go over a few of these search terms that John Bradley provided me.
Oh, okay.
Okay. All right. So first we have Chad Kroeger naked. I think that's the lead singer of Nickelback. I don't know about that. It's a little weird.
I showed the background of my phone, Pally.
Was Dale Earnhardt murdered? He's still on that 20 years later, I guess. I don't know, that's kind of weird. Why won't they let me get a real chair? I guess that's a studio pic that we posted. Yeah, he's sitting in an old.
Go to
old
YouTube for
chair.
more information on that one.
Yeah. Why do people hate Creed? Self-evident, but it's Mike. I don't know. Is the clit real?
Science is proven. It's not. Like, there's articles.
All right. Statute of limitations on college roofies. Why would you be searching that, Mike? It's weird. Is 13 inches too big? What kind of search is that? I'm not sure what that was referring to.
Ask your wife.
What's next, Tim? Do true crime podcast listeners like to do blowjobs? That's a good search, I guess.
That's a very real search, actually.
Is storming the Capitol illegal? Were you planning on participating in?
Well, no, not until I was commanded to.
Okay.
Whoops.
All right, I've got how to trademark any hoodles. Yeah, that's a good one. Long-term effects of binge drinking. You're really busy there at home with your...
Who's really busy? You got a fucking 19-page document over here.
John Bradley pulled all these for me. I don't know.
Oh, can't wait till we debunk John Bradley here.
Is Mike Namapod hot? Oh, he's searching for himself, seeing what people are saying. Okay.
What is that, a vanity search? Is that what it's called?
Apparently.
A vanity search?
Casey Anthony anal. Okay, at least you're doing research for this week's show. Sure.
Yep.
Shawn Michaels' penis in purple tights. Not a bad search. Okay, I get it.
He did not wear ever purple tights. So.
That's what I was about to say.
Joke's on you, Pally. Joke's on you. He didn't wear purple tights. Thank you,
Fair
Ian.
enough.
Ian's got my back.
Right.
He's about to jump in there, too. You find purple tights, and I'll show you a new erection, Pally.
The last one on this list, it says, is doing a weed one time dangerous? Okay. Is doing a weed one time dangerous?
I wish like it to be known that every time I now go pee in the studio, I'm taking my phone so Dave can't search my history anymore.
Hey, John Bradley did this. He remoted in to your IP address.
Well, he's
from-
Canadian, so literally nothing he says is relevant.
All right.
Come on. It's Canada.
I'm sorry to expose your search history, but I just thought it was necessary. All right, sorry for the interlude, Ian. You can go back to the show now.
Further regarding the searches for chloroform, Cindy Anthony testified that it was her that did that search, but it wasn't 84 times, it was only once. She said that the family dog had eaten a bunch of bamboo from plants in the backyard and seemed to be sick. She was Googling chlorophyll and got curious when chloroform came up in the suggested search. The prosecution hit back on this because they had time card proof that Cindy would have been at work during the time of these searches, but Cindy didn't budge. She said that it was her that did the search for chloroform. Cindy said that she might have been home for lunch or something like that, but she was the one who did it, and it was only once.
Do nurses often go home for lunch?
I don't know how that works.
Depends how close to the hospital they live. I don't know. I don't leave the house, so I don't know what real people do.
I watched 9 seasons of Scrubs. They don't go home for lunch.
They don't go home.
They don't go home for lunch.
Look, I keeps going back to if it was your kid, I don't know. Wouldn't you lie in the stand?
Well,
too,
Cindy's the
depending on
one showing
scenario?
some
Yeah,
lies here.
yeah. I don't know.
But Cindy also choked her daughter previously. Just saying. If we're going to character assassinate.
Fair enough.
She choked her daughter.
Fair enough.
Well, I think the fact that Cindy doubles down on literally almost every lie that Casey tells is some character,
Yeah.
something
Yeah.
to look at with her character.
I think if you feel like your daughter accidentally killed your granddaughter, like your world's shattered, but aren't you going to do everything to help out your daughter at that point?
I don't know.
I mean, it's an
That's
impossible kind of scenario to
tough.
put
That's
yourself
like you
in,
can't-
but
right. That's your granddaughter.
like
also.
if she says, yeah, but if she says it was an accident, I mean, wouldn't you do everything you could to kind of salvage what was left of your daughter's life? Like it's hard to
I'm not
fault
sure.
a parent for
I'm
that.
not sure. I know. I understand. That's
Yeah.
tough. It's tough. But I don't know.
Yeah.
We'll get into that at the end. Let's save it for the end.
Yeah, sure.
Because otherwise people will turn this episode off right now and be like, I've heard enough about tater tots and fucking Mike's Google search history. And,
Is 13 inches too big, Google? I don't think it is.
just saying.
Later on at trial, it was proven, and Bradley had to admit that his software made an error, and the search wasn't made 84 times. It was only made once.
Oh.
Yeah, there's a big fucking oops.
Yeah. And you used him as reference for me, Dave. Just saying. You have your fucking John Bradley. Keep your Canadians. No one needs them.
Do you think that happens often in trials?
Well, he got caught, though, during the trial, right? Like,
Yeah, like if it wasn't a competent defense, like do you think a public defender would have been able to bust this guy and refute and make him admit that it was once, only 84 times? Like how many times do bad experts give bad testimony and it just goes and the jury uses that bad testimony to convict people because
right.
people have inadequate, legal counsel.
I mean, if you're on a jury, anyone that gets put on the stand now, you're supposed to take at their word, right? If you're on the jury,
well,
they're under oath. You're supposed to take them at
no,
their
you're
word.
supposed to take them at their word. You're supposed to disseminate the information and determine who's telling the truth and who's not. But
I'm just saying they're under oath. You're going to take them at their word. So if there's someone brought in as an expert, you're going to think they're an expert.
Right. 1 versus 84. Okay. Like, does John
difference.
Bradley know anything about how computers work or bookmarks or anything?
That is very bad.
Like, what the
That's
fuck
not a
does-
good look.
Like, you shouldn't, if you don't know the difference, you shouldn't be in court testifying as an expert, right?
Yeah, agreed. So I think this goes to say, like, at this point, they're laying doubt. There's doubt.
I think when the prosecution calls an expert who's so incompetent like that, I think it lays doubt onto the whole premise of the prosecution, right? Onto their whole case.
Well, because again,
Whether or not that's correct or not.
you're looking at it as a jurist,
Yeah.
and you have to have unreasonable doubt that this girl
Yeah.
premeditated to kill her daughter,
All these little things add up.
and they add up.
If you're the prosecution and your best judgment is to put this so-called, quote unquote expert on the stand, and he says this search happened 84 times, and an hour later the defense team beats him up and gets him to admit it only happened once, then I don't know. I think that calls into question everything.
That starts taking, chiseling out. with a hammer.
Absolutely.
And that's not, indicative of our final thoughts. We're just saying, if you're on the jury, and I put myself in that perspective when reading this, like if you're on the jury, you might start to have a little bit of doubt.
You might start to question whether the
Right.
prosecution has all their ducks in a row and whether they're telling the truth.
Exactly. I'm not saying she's guilty. I'm not saying she's not guilty. I'm just saying if
right.
you're on the jury, you might start to question
That's
things.
the definition of a reasonable doubt.
Ian, we don't need you. We got it from here. We got this.
The prosecution also tried to tie back Casey's idea of using chloroform to her ex-boyfriend, Ricardo Morales. He had posted a meme that said, quote, "win her over with chloroform," and it had like some guy putting a rag over a woman's mouth on his MySpace page, like a really stupid rapey joke. But he testified that he never talked with Casey about chloroform, and I don't even understand why this was brought in as evidence. Like, this is a very loose thing to try and tie this back to. This is what made chloroform pop into Casey's mind.
Well, one, rape's not funny, Ian. Quite frankly, I'm shocked that you would make that joke during this podcast. And I'm quite frankly, I'm appalled that you would make rape jokes.
It is offensive. Yeah.
Like, who are you even?
Maybe we shouldn't even release this episode. And 2, Dave, you said 1.
2, I think things like this, it's starting to be like death by 1,000 cuts with, making the prosecution look bad.
Yeah, I agree.
That was in my torture episode available on Patreon, Death by 1,000 Cuts, Chinese torture.
Patreon.com/Necronomipod.
Regarding Kaylee's remains, prosecution called Chief Medical Examiner Jan Garavaglia, who testified that she determined Kaylee's manner of death to be homicide, but listed it as death by undetermined means. Dr. Garavaglia took into account the physical evidence present on the remains she examined, as well as all the available information on the way they were found and what she had been told by authorities before arriving to her determination. She said, quote, "We know by our observation that it's a red flag when a child has not been reported to authorities with injury. There's foul play. There is no child that should have duct tape on the lower part of its face when it dies." Additionally, she addressed the chloroform evidence found by investigators inside the trunk of Casey's car, testifying that even a small amount of chloroform would be sufficient to cause the death of a child. The duct tape was proven to be a pretty rare brand of duct tape that was able to be linked back to the Anthony house. That duct tape was used on the gas cans that Casey had tried to steal from George.
How is duct tape rare? That seems odd.
It's just like the pattern on certain brands. It's pretty amazing with some things like that. There's like the FBI has just huge files of different brands of things to compare to.
Yeah, I suppose. Or like you got some weird print from China, duct tape at Dollar General one day or something was only imported once. Or I get it.
Yeah. University of Florida professor and human identification laboratory director Michael Warren was brought on by the prosecution to present a computer animation of the way the duct tape could have been used in the death of Kaylee, which the defense objected to hearing. Judge Perry, after a short recess, ruled that the video could be shown to the jury. The animation featured a picture of Kaylee taken alongside Casey, superimposed with an image of Kaylee's decomposed skull and another strip of duct tape that was recovered with her remains. Like the images slowly brought together, showing that the duct tape could have covered her nose and mouth.
I think this video is highly prejudicial and should not have been allowed to be shown.
I agree completely.
There's no basis in reality for showing this.
Because you don't know for 100% that duct tape was over her mouth.
Right. It's very inflammatory.
So they're basically taking 3 pictures. They're taking a picture of Kaylee alive, and then taking a picture of her skull, and then a picture of the duct tape, putting the picture of the duct tape over the skull, and then fading them together to make a point.
Yeah.
It's just it is nonsense. About this, Baez stated, quote, "This disgusting superimposition is nothing more than a fantasy. They're throwing things against the wall and seeing if it sticks." Jurors were seen taking notes of this image, and Warren testified that it was his opinion that the duct tape found with Kaylee's skull was placed there before her body began decomposing. Baez pushed back on all of this, saying that the duct tape wasn't used to kill Kaylee. It had simply fallen off the bag while sitting out in the elements from when George sealed the garbage bag with it. For this, Baez called the chief investigator for the medical examiner, who stated that the original placement of the duct tape was unclear and it could have shifted positions as he collected the remains.
Well, but she used that piece of duct tape to declare it was a homicide as part of her evidence. And then under cross-examination, she admits it could have just moved?
The investigator for her.
I'm sorry, not the medical examiner, the investigator. Okay.
Yeah, so what he's saying, the chief investigator saying when he collected the remains, it was unclear and it could have moved when he was putting everything together.
Fair enough.
Going against the medical examiner, Baez called Dr. Werner Spitz. We talk about this guy all the time. OJ, John Bonet, West Memphis 3.
He's a fucking celebrity. He's on the Necronomicon, I guess, Mount Rushmore at this point, simply because we talked about him so much.
Right.
He replaced Philip Glass, in Ian's opinion.
No, he replaced Stanton Friedman. Like, let's get the schmucks out of there. Let's get the schmucks out. Philip Glass stays.
Spitz performed his own autopsy on Kaylee and said that the medical examiner's was, quote, shoddy. He said it was a failure that Kaylee's skull was not opened during the examination, saying, quote, you need to examine the whole body in an autopsy. Spitz stated he was not allowed to attend the medical examiner's initial autopsy on Kaylee's remains, and that from his own follow-up autopsy, he was not comfortable ruling Kaylee's death as a homicide. He said that he could not determine what Kaylee's manner of death was, but said there was no indication to him that she was murdered. Additionally, Spitz testified that he believed the duct tape found on Kaylee's skull was placed there after she decomposed, saying that if the tape was placed on the skin, there should have been DNA left on it, and there was no DNA on the adhesive side of the tape.
Poking holes.
See, I don't get that argument because if we're talking about this, her remains in the bag being underwater and all the skin's gone off her skull and everything, like, didn't that all wash away? Like, if none of that DNA was left on her skull, why would you expect it to be left on the duct tape? Like, that's just not a valid argument.
Because you're just trying to plant doubt in the jurist's
but that's just
mind.
not a valid argument.
But you're just trying to plant doubt in the jurist's mind.
Sure.
That's it.
Yeah, I like personally, I mean, obviously Dr. Werner Spitz is way smarter than I am, but I would say that, that would probably wash away. Like, I don't agree with him on that.
Yeah.
But again,
I do agree with them.
You're not going for scientific evidence. You're just trying to plant doubt. You're just trying to put enough doubt in the people's minds where they can say, no, this is not capital 1A, whatever fucking murder.
But I do agree with him that based on the physical evidence in that bag where she was, or that crime scene, there's no way to tell how she died. So how can you definitively say it was murder?
I agree with that. I think determining that was a homicide is a stretch with the available information.
Was it an accident or was it premeditated murder?
Right.
I mean, obviously she died of unnatural causes. There's no reason that a 2-year-old would be found dead and found in the woods like that. But saying it was premeditated murder or an accident, there's no way to say that.
Yeah.
We'll be right back.
Baez then called Roy Kronk, who recalled the same basic story he told police about his discovery of Kaylee's remains in December of 2008. He acknowledged receiving $5,000 after the remains were identified and admitted to joking to co-workers that he was going to be famous. But he denied that he told his son that finding the body would make him rich and famous. The next day, his son testified he had made those statements. So, I don't know. It seems like Roy Kronk just said some stupid shit that kind of came back to haunt him as far as Baez poking holes in his credibility.
Which, I think some people would say, the guy's like a lowly meter reader in Florida, right? You run into this kind of thing and you're like, I don't know, not starstruck, but you see
Yeah, it's
visions of grandeur because you're the guy that found it. You're like, I'm going to be rich and
chance to make
famous.
some money.
I'm going to get crunked. Get it, Kronk, Ray Kronk.
Yeah, we got it. We got it, Dave. We purposely didn't laugh at that one.
Son of a bitch.
On June 30th, Baez called Crystal Holloway, a volunteer in the search for Kaylee, who stated that she had an affair with George Anthony, that he had been to her home, and that he had texted her, quote, "Just thinking about you. I need you in my life."
What?
Poor George.
George is getting just dragged through the dirt in this trial.
Yeah, for sure.
Damn.
She told the defense that George Anthony had told her that Kaylee's death was, quote, "an accident that snowballed out of control." Under cross-examination by prosecutors, they had pointed to her sworn police statement in which she said that George believed it was an accident rather than knowing it was. In her initial report, Holloway reported George saying, quote, "I really believe it was an accident that just went wrong and Casey tried to cover it up." She said that he had not told her he was present when the alleged accident occurred.
I think he still believes this.
Yeah, for sure.
But I
Yeah,
guess you
we're
kind
gonna-
of have to, right? Like, who wants to think their daughter did it purposefully?
Yeah.
But by saying that he thinks it was she covered it up, you're not insinuating that he also was a part of it.
No.
Okay.
No.
I agree. I think I agree.
I mean, it's the best case scenario, right? For him to think is that an accident happened and she didn't know how to deal with it, so she tried to cover it up.
Yeah. I mean, I'll say my final thoughts for the end, but yeah. I don't think George was in on this, is what I'll say right now.
Okay, fair enough. I like how
During-
I like how he says, "I'll save my final thoughts for the end," and then he gives his final thought.
That's not my final thought. That's my final thought on George. That's my final thought on this case.
okay, fair enough.
I have some thoughts, man.
During redirect examination, Baez asked Holloway if George had told her that Kaylee was dead while stating publicly that she was missing, to which she replied yes.
Again, I'm sure he thought she was because, at that point, what else? Where else would she be?
George isn't an idiot. You know what I mean?
he's an ex-cop. He knows what's going on.
I think he knew from the minute he went to the impound lot and found that car.
Yeah.
In his earlier testimony, George denied the affair with Holloway and said that he visited her only because she was ill. He said that he sent the text message because he needed everyone who had helped in his life. After Holloway's testimony, Judge Perry told jurors that it could be used to damage George's credibility, but it was not proof of how Kaylee died, nor evidence of Casey Anthony's guilt or innocence. Closing arguments were heard July 3rd and July 4th. Jeff Ashton, for the prosecution, told the jury, quote, "When you have a child, that child becomes your life. This case is about a clash between that responsibility and the expectations that go with it and the life that Casey Anthony wanted to have." He outlined the state's case against Casey, bringing up her many lies to her parents and others, the smell in the trunk of the car that was identified by several witnesses, including her own father, as the odor of human decomposition, and the items found with Kaylee's skeletal remains back in December of 2008. He emphasized how Casey, quote, "maintains her lies until they absolutely cannot be maintained anymore, and then replaces them with another lie," and he used Zanny the nanny as an example. Ashton reintroduced the items found with Kaylee's remains, including the Winnie the Pooh blanket that matched the bedding at the Anthony home, one set of laundry bags with the twin bag found at the Anthony home, and duct tape, which we talked about was a relatively rare brand. He held all this stuff up and said, quote, "That bag is Kaylee's coffin." He further criticized the defense theory that Kaylee drowned in the family pool and that Casey and George had panicked upon finding her body and covered it up. He asked jurors to use their common sense when deciding a verdict, saying, quote, "No one makes an accident look like a murder."
Interesting line.
Very,
Yeah.
mostly true for the most part.
Yeah.
In most circumstances.
Before the closing arguments were to be heard from the defense, Judge Perry ruled that Baez couldn't bring up any of the sexual abuse claims against George and Lee because Baez literally never spoke of it the whole trial, besides the opening statements.
Like he just wants to say it in the opening and the closing, but never give any evidence to support it.
But even still, like, he did what he had to do. Like, It's disgusting, but he did what he should have done, right?
Yeah.
Like he just sprinkled that little dust on.
Sure.
Said, hey, think about this. This poor sweet girl went to school with the taste of her dad's dick in her mouth, which is essentially what he said.
Sure.
Yeah.
Now think about that.
But realistically, there's no way that he could actually address that during testimony, because the only way he could do that was to have Casey on the stand.
Right.
That was never going to happen because
Right.
you don't do that. So
He played that very
Yeah,
well, is
sure.
what I'm saying. Like, as scummy as it is, he did that well,
yeah, sure.
even though it's bullshit.
You know, we talked about it the other night. We were talking about like what to do for a schedule coming up, and one of you guys threw out the Menendez brother case. That's what was used in that case, was this claims of molestation by the father in that case, and they hit hard on it the whole trial. And it's almost like Baez looked at that trial and was like, okay, like you just said, Dave, that made the Menendez brothers have to testify. So it's almost like he looked at that and was like, okay, we can't have Casey
Yeah, right.
testify, but I'm just going to throw this out there and see, and just put that seed out there. And then I'm just never going to bring it up again. It's actually a genius thing to do.
Yeah, no one can do anything. Once it's out, it's out. Once you've said it. I mean, even if
But
someone overrule or, objects, the judge
The
can
jury
say
heard it.
disregard
The jury
that, but
heard
they've
it.
heard it.
And
Well,
all you're
and-
doing is planting doubt. That's
Yes,
all you need to do is
absolutely.
plant doubt. You don't have to even prove innocence. Just plant doubt.
Nope.
And the burden of proof is on the state.
Yeah.
So now they have to address that claim, and then it almost validates it in the minds of the jury because it's being talked about now.
Right. You give it credence when you have to address it.
Baez began by saying there were holes in the prosecution's forensic evidence, going back to the whole fantasy forensics phrase. He told the jury that the prosecution wanted to see stains that didn't actually exist, that they had not proven that the stains in the Anthony's car trunk were caused by Kaylee's decomposing body, rather from a trash bag found there. He added the prosecutors tried to make his client look like a liar because their evidence was weak. He said the drowning is, quote, the only explanation that makes sense, and showed jurors a photograph of Kaylee opening the home sliding glass door by herself with the pool in the background. He stressed there were no child safety locks in the home, and that both of Casey's parents, George and Cindy, testified that Kaylee could get out of the home easily. Cindy testified that Kaylee couldn't have put the ladder on the side of the pool and climb up, but Baez alleged that Cindy may have left the ladder up that night, saying, quote, she didn't admit to doing so in testimony, but how much guilt would she have knowing that it was her that left the ladder up that day?
That's a stretch, but okay.
I'm not a big fan of Cindy Anthony.
No, you don't like her?
No. I'm trying to think of what I
Complicit
could say
here?
that would get me in trouble and wouldn't. I'm going to take a sip of beer. Ian, go ahead.
Baez went on to tell jurors his biggest fear was that they would base their verdict on emotions, not evidence. He said, quote, the strategy behind that is if you hate her, if you think she's a lying, no good slut, then you'll start to look at this evidence in a different light. I told you at the very beginning of this case that this was an accident that snowballed out of control. What made it unique is not what happened, but who it happened to.
Top mom is a slut, and that's exactly how you should look at her. Top mom.
I don't want to address it because I loathe Nancy Grace. But I do agree with her on this case, I think, in a lot of ways. Some ways.
Some ways.
Some ways.
Okay.
Yeah. Some.
Tater top mom.
Also, fuck you, Nancy Grace. Fuck Nancy Grace. I am quite intoxicated, for the record. Let the record show Dave and I have had some alcohols tonight. Ugh.
At one point, as Baez spoke, Ashton could be seen smiling or laughing behind his hand. This prompted Baez to refer to him as, quote, this laughing guy right here. The judge called a sidebar conference, then a recess. When court resumed, he grilled both sides, saying Ashton and Baez had violated his order that neither side should make disparaging remarks about opposing counsel. You can see the video of that the guy from the prosecution, Ashton, he comes off looking like a really cocky asshole.
Juries don't
When
like
he's sitting-
that.
Yeah, when he's sitting there laughing at Baez.
No.
After both lawyers apologized, the judge accepted the apologies, but warned that a reoccurrence would have the offending lawyer excluded from the courtroom.
Are
July
we ready to get into this now? This is the part where people get fired up.
I think so. Are you going to get fired up, Mike?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I read the spoilers. I know what happens.
Okay. Fair enough.
On July 5th, 2011, after 10 hours of deliberation, the jury found Casey Anthony not guilty of counts 1 through 3 regarding first-degree murder, aggravated manslaughter of a child, and aggravated child abuse, while finding her guilty on counts 4 through 7 for providing false information to law enforcement. Count 4 was the whole Universal Studios ordeal that she...
Which is comical.
There.
It's comical to think of in your mind. Yeah. Like, bitch, where the fuck were you going? Where were you going?
Count 5 was the whole Zanny the Nanny thing and leading police to that apartment complex that ended up being empty.
Don't drug your kid. Yeah. My thought on that one.
Count 6 was the 2 employees that she claimed from Universal Studios that she told about the disappearance of Kaylee, Jeffrey Hopkins and Juliette Lewis, who Jeff Hopkins did exist and Juliette Lewis did not.
Well, she was in Natural Born Killers, Ian. I know she exists.
Yeah, she exists in the movies.
Also, poor Jeff Hopkins. Like, that guy's just trying to fucking be a human being.
Like, I don't even have a kid. Why are you fucking with me?
Goddamn.
And then count 7 was when she said she received a phone call and spoke to Kaylee on July 15th, 2008. That's one where she talks about the 911 call that she got a phone call from an unidentified number that was still, or that was now not working.
Right.
This caused law enforcement to use resources to try and track down that phone number.
Ian, somewhere out there, the devil is dancing tonight.
I'm using that for the intro for this episode. She's all looking at it all at the camera outside. The devil dances tonight.
Devil is dancing tonight. Fucking slut top mom.
I want to laugh at that, but I hate Nancy Grace so much. I won't even give her the just of me laughing.
So you didn't listen to the part 1's intro where I used her yelling at guests on her show?
Ian, you know better than that. I've never listened to a show in the history of our shows. Because if I did, I'd hate every minute because my voice is obnoxious. Like, I don't blame people who hate me because you hear my voice and you're like,
blame people who hate me.
And you're like, oh fuck, this guy's talking again. Like, why do they even give him a microphone?
This kooky jury who let Top Mom off. The jurors.
Is she still on TV? Is she still on HLN, like, at night?
I think she does her podcast.
That's it? She get fired?
I don't know.
No, she just does the podcast. You know, it's really funny about her podcast, or just podcasts in general. If you go on Apple Podcasts and search Casey Anthony, the search results are dominated by Nancy's podcast, because she still talks about her like once a month. In every title to the podcast, things related to Casey are they're all in caps, and they say every one of them says Top Mom. And they're all caps typed out.
So are you saying it's the goal of Necronomipod to beat her? We want to be the number one.
That's always been the goal.
We want to be the number one Necronomipod Casey Anthony show to beat Nancy Grace.
Well, I trademark Top Mom. You're never going to beat me, Mike.
Yeah. Spoiler alert.
I got the best haircut in America.
Spoiler alert.
Top Mom should be in prison.
We're not using Karen haircuts. We're not using Karen voices. What a fucking piece of shit. I hate her so much. I hate her so much.
Well, you just don't get me, Mike.
Yeah, okay. All right.
You and the jurors, the kooky jury that let Top Mom out of jail.
I'm not even saying I disagree with Nancy Grace on this one. I'm just saying as a human being, she is the scum of the universe.
I disagree, Mike.
Okay.
The jurors, the kooky jury, they're the scum. And Top Mom, that slut who was out getting gangbanged while Kaylee was rotting in a car.
Good Lord. Can't even.
Mike.
I can't even with this woman.
Look at my haircut, Mike.
Human being.
When I see the search results for Casey Anthony, I just imagine Nancy Grace because they're all in caps. I just imagine her so angry, sitting there typing "Top Mom" out.
banging on her keyboard at home. Top Mom. She's out there partying like a slut. I'm sick to my stomach from the Top Mom still, and the juror, that kooky jury. That let that bitch slut Top Mom out of jail.
I hope to God we never again have a case where Nancy Grace can come back.
So Judge Perry announced at sentencing on July 7th that he would withhold the jurors' names for several months because of concern that, quote, some people would like to take something out on them.
I bet. Look at all those people that showed up at the Anthony's fucking front door.
Beating on their out there
fighting with
people.
George on the lawn. Like, people are nuts. Times 100 in Florida.
Casey was sentenced to serve 1 year in county jail and $1,000 in fines for each of the 4 counts for providing false information to law enforcement officers, which was the maximum penalty by law. She received 1,043 days credit for time served, plus an additional credit for good behavior, resulting in her release on July 17th, 2011. So 10 days later, she walked out.
Yeah.
After the jurors' names were revealed, they did receive a ton of death threats and harassment. They have all stated they believe that Casey probably did kill Kaylee, but the state didn't have a smoking gun or could really tell a story and show exactly how Kaylee was murdered, or the fact that she was even murdered and that it wasn't an accident. There was no concrete proof that someone actually premeditatedly killed her.
Yeah, exactly. It was an overcharge.
After retirement, Judge Perry personally said that he thought that finding Casey guilty of first-degree murder with the punishment of death would have been a stretch, that there wasn't enough there. But in his opinion, there was more than enough there for the manslaughter charge.
Yep.
Cindy believes that Casey is innocent and said that she asked God to rule on the case and that whatever the verdict was what God intended. So God intended this. Casey didn't do anything wrong.
I can't wait for patreon.com/necronomapod, the $10 tier. Next week, Dave will be breaking down on Bible Babble with Dave why God intended that Kaylee Anthony is now dead and Casey Anthony is still alive, and that was in his plans. Because that is what God intended, Dave.
Mike, you just have to have faith. You can't question.
All I'm asking is just for the breakdown.
Well,
you know,
we'll cover it. But somewhere out
made
there,
all that up.
somewhere
Like,
out there, the devil's dancing tonight, Mike. It was not part of God's plan.
Look, I'm pretty sure.
My haircut and
Dave.
the devil, they're both dancing tonight.
Dave, can you please get Nancy Grace on Bible Babble?
Well, that'd be fun.
And I want to be a call-in.
To this day, Cindy still has regular contact with Casey. George, on the other hand, believes Casey is responsible for the death of Kaylee. He stated that leading up to Kaylee's disappearance, he had noticed that Kaylee was sleeping an abnormal amount and had black circles under her eyes. He believes that Casey was microdosing Kaylee with Xanax, hence the nickname Zanny the Nanny. And
No. That's where that came from? What?
Shocker, right?
Casey and that Casey accidentally overdosed Kaylee. And George hasn't spoken with Casey since the trial. And he believes she should have been sent to prison for this.
George does.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I wish someone would microdose me with fucking Xanax every day. It'd be awesome.
I'll microdose you with Xanax, Dave.
Really?
Gladly.
Okay.
I'll come over every day and just throw you up with some Xanax. You might lose your job. You know.
I'm a
be
podcaster,
comatose.
Mike. Can't lose my job.
Please. We're close to it as it is.
So remember how we talked about Zanny the Nanny? We're like, well, obviously Zanny is a street name for Xanax.
Sure.
And Zenaida Gonzalez, it's like maybe she heard that name and could come up with, link the two together. So here's a good theory on where Zenaida Gonzalez comes from. This is completely off the top of my head, so someone can correct me if I'm wrong on the second name. Where Kaylee's body was found in the neighborhood, in that wooded area, was behind two houses. There was two houses. It was like in between two houses, pretty much. On one side, one of those neighbors was named Zenaida Almodovar. On the other side, I believe it was Fernando Gonzalez.
Stop it. Get the fuck out of here.
I know the last name was Gonzalez. I believe the first name was Fernando. I can't remember exactly. Someone might be able to correct me. So
Jesus Christ, it's fucking ridiculous.
She basically took the two names of the houses where she
The neighbors.
left
The neighbors.
Yeah, the neighbors, and just mashed up their names, thinking that it would be such an odd name that no one would ever figure it out. And somehow, coincidentally, there was a Zenaida Gonzalez living in Orlando.
That poor woman.
Yeah.
Of course that's what it was. Of course it was. Like, I don't believe in coincidences. That's too much of a stretch. Of course that's what it was. Wow, I didn't know that. That's,
What a
that's
dumb
insane.
human being.
That's insane. Stupid tot mom, dumb bitch.
Fuck you, Nancy. Get the fuck out of here.
That's unbelievable. That's wild. I've never heard that.
That's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
Huh. But
Only that
of
was
course
brought up
that-
during the trial.
Yeah, of course
If
that's
only
what
the-
it was. Of course it was.
If only the jury could have been made known of that.
And after this, Casey had a lot of legal and money issues. She was sued by multiple people. Zenaida Gonzalez, the real Zenaida, sued her pretty hefty for just, using her name like that.
Yeah, I don't blame her.
That's a stretch, though. I mean,
No, stop it. You're getting questioned for murder in this case that you've kidnapped this girl.
but she didn't target her specifically. It's just a name. Like if your name was Bill Jones,
You don't know what this-
and there were
you don't know what
5,000
that lady
Bill
went through.
Jones, you wouldn't be able to sue.
But there wasn't 5,000 Bill Jones. There was one.
But it
Zenaida
doesn't
Gonzalez.
matter. It's not. It's the same thing.
You were accused of kidnapping a child.
not specifically. It was just a name.
You still had to go through the trouble of it.
It got thrown out of court because it was not a legitimate lawsuit.
Your name was dragged through the mud. Why
You
not?
think if there was 5,000 Bill Jones in Florida, that all 5,000 could sue her if she would have said Bill Jones kidnapped my kid?
No.
But
No, and that works in Zenaida's for her
But
case.
it's the same thing.
There's one person. There's
Okay.
one person.
All right, Ian, move on, please.
There's one person.
That's ridiculous. It's the same thing.
How is that ridiculous?
Because it's a unique name, she wasn't targeting that person specifically. She just made up that name.
That woman went through hell. She deserves to be compensated.
It's not
right.
the person that she was. She wasn't targeting that woman.
That
she just
woman-
happened to have that name.
But that woman still went through hell.
Okay. And next, please.
We'll disagree on that one.
We're gonna disagree on
Yeah.
that one.
I don't know. Sue that whole family for all they're worth.
You want to take George's pension now too?
They threw in a nationwide case. You are now a suspect in kidnapping a 2-year-old girl.
But it was a
You deserve
made-up name, and she
compensation.
just happened to have that name.
Exactly. But she was the only one that had that name and was
that's-
questioned and was thrown in the public spotlight. She doesn't deserve any compensation for that.
Okay. Do all 5,000 Bill Jones have the same thing?
We're all 5,000 Bill Jones put on the front page of every tabloid.
But if she would have said the name Bill Jones, wouldn't they have been?
We're all 5,000 Bill Jones thrown on the
Your
front
argument
page.
is absolutely ridiculous.
I think your argument's ridiculous. You're saying because it's only one person, she doesn't deserve any compensation.
She wasn't personally targeting her.
She picked her name
She-
out, and this lady was personally targeted.
Okay.
Yeah. I think you take that family for everything they're worth.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think this family's already been taken for everything they're worth.
The other big legal thing that she had, because Zenaida Gonzalez was not the only one to sue her. Roy Kronk sued her. A bunch of people did. But Judge Perry...
yeah!
What happened?
Okay!
What happened with all these lawsuits? Are they all just settled?
What?
Now Lil Jon's here.
She ended up having to file bankruptcy for some of it, but...
Okay!
God.
Judge Perry ruled that because of all like the resources that were put in by the police from all her lies and stuff, she had to pay back like $100,000, like close to $100,000 for wasting all those resources. So she ended up filing bankruptcy and it was a whole mess for her financially. In 2016, a private investigator who worked for the defense before the trial started, Dominic Casey, stated that on July 26, 2008, Baez admitted to him that Casey Anthony murdered Kaylee, saying, quote, and dumped the body somewhere, and he needed all the help he could get to find the body before anyone else did.
God damn, that's a revelation.
He also claimed that Baez had a sexual relationship with Casey and that, quote, Casey told me she had to do what Jose said because she had no money for her defense. About the sexual relationship, he went on to say at one point he saw Casey naked and running out of Baez's office. Also, there was a media thing that Casey really didn't want to do, but Baez had already set it up. So Baez canceled it for her and said, quote, now you owe me 3 blowjobs.
Which is, I mean, that's essentially what everyone thought was going on from the beginning, right?
Sure.
Who's this Dominic Casey guy? Is he legit?
Yeah, he was a private investigator.
Well, he worked on it in the beginning. Him and Baez, it's worth noting that he worked on it, the case, before it went to trial. There was a falling out between him and Baez pretty much fired him, told him to get the fuck out of there. So who knows?
Who knows? You never know who the fuck.
Yeah, he might have something out for Baez or whatever.
Casey's too much of a narcissist to give a good blowjob, right? There's no way she gives a good blowjob.
Is that how that works? I don't know. Do narcissists are they not able to do that?
Too into themselves, I guess.
Too into themselves, right?
No, you go down on this. Like,
Yeah, right.
You know,
Oh, okay. Yeah, I see what you're
She
saying.
doesn't put the effort into that, right?
probably not.
Casey, let us
So
know if you
lazy.
give a good blowjob, Case. Get to us.
Lazy blowjob, I'd imagine.
Yeah, right? No effort. She's lazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sticking with that.
Like if you're Jose, you're just like, oh no, send me some hot photos. I'll take care of it myself then. Like, don't worry about it. I'll do it myself. Don't be lazy.
It's like, bitch, I'm releasing those. I'm releasing that evidence.
We got to behave a little bit here. Oh boy.
Getting to the story of Kaylee accidentally drowning in the pool, coincidentally, Casey had been locked up with an inmate who had a daughter who was drowned in her family pool by her grandfather. Now, this is a confirmed case that did happen. Dominic Casey said that with this story, he was the one that noticed that sometimes the Anthony pool ladder was left down, and he, Baez, and Casey came up with this story of the accidental drowning based on him seeing the ladder left down and this other woman that was locked up with Casey.
I 100% believe that. That is completely possible.
Yeah, I agree
believe
with
that it's possible.
Yeah.
I think this Dominic Casey guy is just a full of shit piece of shit human being. I don't put anything into what he says.
Nothing at all?
No, I think he's a scumbag.
I don't believe in coincidences, and the story about her prison pal who she was rooming with in jail, that actually happened to her, that scenario.
Right.
That just completely lines up. That completely makes sense.
But lines up to what?
To her
Casey saying
stealing
this is
that
my
story and go, that's a really good fucking story. I'm going to take that.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes.
Completely plausible. Because there's no, like, think at the beginning of this story when all this happens, she's in jail, she's meeting Jose Baez. She has no, obviously based on all the lies that we heard about last week, she has no story. She has nothing. And then, the person she's rooming with in jail has a story. I completely believe that she's like, and they concocted this based on her experience in prison. It's like, that's a great story. That can explain this whole thing.
I apologize. I'm extremely drunk. Yes, I agree with Dominic Kasic's story. Like, I think this is all made up. I thought he was saying that this is the truth. No, I agree. This is all made up.
I mean, we know from part one that she just uses either completely false, made up people and real people in false and real scenarios to craft all kind of lies. So of course this would be in her, this would be in her MO of something to do is just take someone else's story and morph it into her own thing.
It goes back to the whole Kaiser Sose scenario where she's just looking, oh, that looks good. Let me take this and take this. And that's exactly what. Absolutely. Damn. That's fucking crazy. It's crazy.
Now let's talk about the biggest fuck up in this case. When investigators ran forensics on the Anthony computer, they only looked at the Internet Explorer browser history. They didn't bother to look at the Firefox history.
Who the fuck uses Internet Explorer, the worst browser in the history of browsers?
Literally, probably George Anthony.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right, exactly. Oh, such garbage Microsoft stuff.
And he's just looking up like MSNBC News, like just whatever he can find. Like just poor guy.
Awful.
He opens like the web browser just to like search for his own email. He's like yahoo.com, and then it comes up and he clicks on that and he's
What
like,
is my email?
yeah. Yeah. G Anthony 232 at Yahoo. Password I love my wife and donuts because I'm a cop. Click. And it's just
great.
like it's just whatever he signs up for, like ESPN News, here's the local. Whatever. Yeah, I don't know what old men sign up for. Dave, what did old men sign up for? Anyway, sorry.
Well,
Sorry.
Okay.
Christ. On Monday, June 16th, 2008, the last day that anyone saw Kaylee, Casey spent from 7:56 a.m. through 8:06 a.m. chatting through instant messages with a guy with the username White Playboy. I know his real name. I'm leaving it out because his name is not like public court documents. I mean, people can go out there and find his name. I'm not going to say it.
Ian, is his name Mike Namapod?
Kayfabe, motherfucker.
I White Playboy. Yo, what's up? What's up? I picture this dude as Ian. I'm not even gonna bother asking Mike, but did you ever see the movie from the '90s? Can't Hardly Wait.
Yes.
Where Seth Green was like the white dude who thought he was a rapper. Like, that's how I picture White Playboy. Yo, what's up?
I actually know that.
Do you?
Yeah.
That's a great fucking movie. That's what pops in my head with White Playboy.
So I think moving
Yo,
forward now,
baby, what's up?
Dave and I are going to read the IMs, right?
Yeah, can I just say that White Playboy is spelled WITEPLAYBOI.
Boy, like Flavor Flav. Boy.
Pretty sure the last time I saw this screen name, it was on Dateline NBC. And hi, my name is Chris Hansen. Why don't you have a seat?
Why don't you have a seat, White Playboy? What are those condoms and pizza boxes? in here?
So tell me, did you bring some food tonight? Well, yeah, but it was for me. What are you doing here tonight? Well, see, I was talking to this girl online, and I was coming to tell her about the dangers of talking to people online. Oh, really? Let me read from you this chat, White Playboy. Would you like to suck my dick? Well, see, I was just trying to tell her that it's dangerous to talk to people who's, you shouldn't suck dicks. She said, oh, will you bring condoms and a 6-pack of Budweiser? Sir, did you bring condoms? Well, no, I didn't bring them with me, but they're in my car. But I always keep them in my car. Like I just, for safekeeping, So Dave's going to be White Playboy and I'm going to read Casey Anthony. And we are literally going to read the instant messages as they are written. So Dave as they are written.
Oh, I thought you said writ.
So as they are written.
So let it be written, so let it be done.
Yo, as they are written. Yeah, get off my balls. Ouch. As they are written. So Dave's White Playboy, I'm Casey Anthony. We're going to read the instant messages as they are written, as Ian got them from the transcript. White Playboy, the stage is yours.
Hey, how was the showcase?
It went really well. You should come out one Friday.
I will once I quit my job.
Awesome. How's life, love?
Well, I finished 12th in one of the biggest online poker tourneys last night. I was pissed.
Alex, that's great, though. You're really stepping up.
If I won't, it was like, set me up for the next 4 years type money. Instead, scraps.
Holy crap, hon.
First was 125,000.
Jesus Christ!
I get 9,000. See why it's so upsetting? LOL.
Still, 9,000 isn't bad at all, babe.
So what are you up to?
Not a whole lot. Checking up on all the MySpace, Facebook hoopla. Yourself?
Yeah, my mom's chilling. Gonna get a haircut in a little.
Nice! How's your place working out?
I can't wait for the lease to be up. I want my own place.
This is true. I'm finally moving into my own place. At the end of the month, I'll have a roommate for a little bit, but at least my friend Amy is like living with myself.
Yeah, you told me. That's hot.
Smiley face. I'm extremely excited. It's well past due.
You gonna invite me over?
Most definitely.
Late night rendezvous.
No. But poker games? Beer pong? The usually hangouts? Casey really likes this boyfriend of hers.
I had to try.
I know.
Good conversation there.
Was that even English language?
That's all right. You know.
Okay.
Casey spent most of the rest of the day looking at all of her friends' MySpace and Facebook pages. I mean, there are tons of browser activity looking at MySpace and Facebook. Then at 2:49 p.m., someone ran a search for, quote, foolproof suffocation on Firefox before clicking an article that criticizes pro-suicide websites, quote, that include advice on foolproof ways to die. A minute after the suffocation search, the browser recorded more activity on MySpace, which Casey Anthony used all the time. George didn't use MySpace. And
No.
Cindy was at work. Cindy was at work.
You're shitting me.
And from the instant messaging transcripts, like the proof of that, we know it was Casey on this computer. Of this error, Orange County Sheriff's Captain Angelo Nieves said, quote, there was an oversight. This has been a learning experience for investigators as well. I think it's a bit more than an oversight, but...
You know what? At least somebody's taking initiative on it, though, and saying, hey, we fucked up. I'm not saying it's okay, but they're not saying like, oh, we ran a flawless investigation.
Sure. Well, it was 2000. What year was it? The internet was brand new at that point, right?
No.
2011?
It wasn't?
No, Dave. In fact, it was not.
Okay.
It's 2011.
Wait, what do you mean search histories?
What's a browser? What's a www what?
What? You fucking scientists, get out of here. You have no place in the courtroom.
Baez has gone on to say, quote, I don't understand how no one ever knew about this evidence. We were keeping it close to the vest and ready to counterpunch in the trial, and it never came out.
That is wild. So they had that. How did they even have that?
He said that he knew about this and he expected every day that he was going to get hit with this foolproof suffocation search.
Insanity.
Well, but evidence has to be presented ahead of time, right? Like, he would have known they were going to present it ahead of time.
Like they have to share.
You're
they can't
right.
just come into court one day and go,
Right.
oh, Exhibit A, look at this.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And then he waited and waited, and then nothing came up, which is a gold mine for him. How the fuck do you mess that up on the prosecution side? If he had it, how do they not?
I don't know. They have money and the prosecution doesn't.
The forensics team and the investigators, like they all blame each other for this. The people that ran the computer said the prosecution never asked for Firefox. And it's like, well, even though they didn't ask for it, couldn't you just run it anyways, you know? So the investigators all started blaming each other for who fucked up on this. But it's like all you guys fucked up because you really are not making a good case for who dropped the ball on this. And that is Casey Anthony.
That is a wild story. I mean, I took a little, what is she up to now kind of search, and there's really not a lot out there about her. She's mostly been out of the public eye. She's been spotted out partying a few times, mostly in West Palm Beach. I know she was spotted up in Columbus a couple years ago.
Yeah.
So she's, you know.
When you say partying, though,
It's just spotted
At a
out
bar.
at the bar. Not party. Not like the blue dress, you know,
Right.
hot body contest
no
bar.
hot
And
body
she's
contest at this point.
She's just hanging out and doing her thing. there's been a lot of, not a lot, but several newspaper interviews with her, and there's just some disturbing pictures of her like holding a picture of Kaylee, or there's this one picture where it's a photo of her just kind of, I don't know, like pensively staring at the wall at a picture of Kaylee. It's just really disturbing. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like if what we think happened, then it's just, I don't know how you do that, right?
I think you're maybe
Like
mentally
how do you get to that
ill?
point? Yeah. I don't know. I mean, a couple of years ago, she was living in South Florida with a guy named Patrick McKenna, who was the lead investigator on her defense team. Apparently, they made a love connection during this whole thing.
She was like with him.
Yeah. And I read that George Casey was in a serious car accident a few years back, and she apparently reached out to him. So
And he accepted that?
It sounded like
up
it.
until that point, he had not
he
spoken
had not.
to
It
her.
sounded like she had contact with her mom still off and on.
Of
but,
course,
yeah.
because Cindy was trifling.
Yeah. Trifling. That's right. Trifling.
She was. I'm sorry, she was.
I know she has a documentary coming out, right?
Yeah, she's like executive producer, right?
She does. Yeah. She's producing her own documentary about what really happened. Like, wouldn't you just let it go? Like, wouldn't you just say, maybe I'm going to go live in Bali or something and just
You would
not
think.
do
You would
this?
think. You would think. But you're also looking for a payday. There can't be that much money
I
coming
guess.
in, right? Unless other people are
well, it
taking
can't
care
be.
of you.
Well,
Unless other people are taking care of you.
Yeah, it's odd that you don't really hear too much about her anymore. But just last month, she opened her own private investigation firm titled or named Case Research and Consulting Services, LLC, to help other mothers unjustly accused.
You can hire her, Dave, if you ever need, if you're an unjust person accused of a crime.
I don't know that I would.
Yeah, I don't think I would.
Apparently, she does not have her own PI license, so she can't really do the
what the
actual
fuck
work
does she do?
herself.
Gives you a
She's
hand
probably-
job in the parking lot and says, hey, thanks for signing up. My attorneys will be in touch.
So I think she's just a front. Yeah, I don't know.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but wasn't she like a year or so ago, maybe 2 years, offered like $500,000 from Hustler to do a photo shoot?
Right? Yeah, I forgot about that.
So obviously there is a payday out there. This is just my opinion. If I was her, I would have done the photo shoot for $500,000 and skipped out on this documentary because what is there to prove in this documentary?
Yeah, right.
That's
What
interesting.
could she
Ian.
say?
But can you imagine, like, everyone thinks you killed your daughter, and now you're going to pose naked and take a payday based on your popularity because you killed your daughter?
But just take the payday and leave the country and just be done. Like, who cares?
I'm not saying I disagree. I'm just saying, like, think about it from that person's standpoint. Like, that's enemy number one. Like, you're going to be even more hated than you
Yeah.
already are.
Yeah.
That's a big step.
I wouldn't have hated
I mean,
to
you
see
can
that
probably
in Hustler.
you can probably retire on whatever they paid you. You could probably name your price, really.
She could have got more than $500,000, right? Larry Flint would have paid her $1 million,
They would have
I'm
paid her
sure.
whatever. She
Casey, we'll up that to $1 million if you show your beaver in a Hustler magazine. That's my best offer, $1.5 million to show your beaver. The reason the Hustler would really like to see your pussy in the magazine is This show's off the rails tonight. And you would expect her to go, okay.
I think Ian just pissed his pants. I think Ian just pissed his pants.
Like, you killed your kid and Larry Flint's offering you, $1 million to show your beaver. Like, wouldn't you expect to hear okay? Well, Casey, just go ahead and go to okay. I'll write your check for $1 million. Okay. But, what are you going to do? Ooh, I'm pretty fucking hammered. That's a long show. Well, guys, I don't know. We've been talking about doing this show forever. Like I said last week, I think doing the bit about how hot she was way better than actually doing the show. Now that we actually did the show, we can't do the bit anymore because it's not funny anymore. So I have mixed feelings.
You want to get into what we all think happened?
Sure.
Based on everything in the story, but specifically based on the chat and the browser history, I really think that, she had recently got this new boyfriend, Tony Lazzaro, and he was real into partying in clubs and stuff. And she's involved with these new people doing stuff like that, and she's living it up. But all those people, none of them had kids. None of them had that responsibility. This computer history, it really makes you think that it's like she's sitting here talking to this guy. Would she say she's catching up on all the MySpace and Facebook hoopla? She spent the whole day doing that and then just eventually thought, fuck this, I'm done having this responsibility. And ran her search for foolproof suffocation. And I think she had been dosing Kaylee with Xanax for a while to get her to nap, probably. Because Zanny the nanny, I mean, that's just ridiculous.
Yeah.
And I think that she probably did dose her with Xanax enough to make her pass out and then put the duct tape over her and smothered her. I don't think I think it was more of a, quote, humane way to do it, I guess.
Yeah. I don't think that's far off. I knew a lot about this case for a while, and I always thought that she probably accidentally killed her, like you said, with the dosing and whatnot. But that internet search for the foolproof suffocation stuff, I think I don't know how you explain that away,
Yeah.
Like having an accident is one thing, but like who searches for that? So we've had a running gag about Casey Anthony because that's what we do. But I mean, the reality is she's a fucking disgusting pig that either directly or indirectly, caused the death of this little girl. And that's the bottom line. I don't know. I mean, she's marginally attractive. I mean, so for some reason, I think that makes it harder for people to believe that she was guilty. You know what I mean? I think it's been proven that more attractive people fare better in court. I don't think that that's a surprise to anyone because people are shallow and that's just how juries operate. But I mean, if she had been ugly, might she have been found guilty? Probably.
You think so? Even with
I think
that
so.
harsh of a,
I think it just had a lot to do with it.
felony one.
I mean, if this case wasn't sensationalized like this and she had a public defender, would she have been convicted? I think most definitely.
Maybe so. And then public defenders are different, though, I think.
Yeah, I mean, money's money, and poor people get what poor people get, and then people with... I mean, not that she was necessarily wealthy, but I think Jose Baez did this for free, or for blowjobs or whatever ended up happening. I mean, she ended up declaring bankruptcy later, being $1 million in debt, so I don't know, how that all works, but... I don't know. What are you going to do? Guilty people go free and innocent people get executed. That's just the world we live in.
Now she's living a life, $1 million in blowjobs. She's got to pay off.
Yeah.
In Florida, no less. Who wants that humidity on a blowjob?
Is it hard to do blowjobs in the humidity?
I'd imagine. I don't know.
Is doing the marijuana once dangerous? Wasn't that your search? Was that your search, Mike?
Yeah.
Is doing the marijuana once.
Probably. It's probably worse than doing a blowjob in Florida. Maybe. Oh, it's close. What would you rather do? Marijuana once or a blowjob in Florida? Either way, like you just feel dirty afterwards, right? I'd imagine. Oh.
I mean, I know we've joked since the beginning of the show about how hot she was. And I mean, yeah, she's a good looking girl, but I think we all realize she's a fucking pig who killed her kid. So I hope people realize we weren't doing a bit and the bit's over now and that's it.
A bit to an extent, right? Like we weren't just putting people on. Like we weren't just making like a gag of it.
She's a good looking girl. I don't,
Sure.
I think a lot of people, how can you think she's attractive when she killed her kid? I don't, killing your kid doesn't change your physical appearance.
I agree.
She's still a cute girl. She's a good looking girl. I'm not going to, you can't argue with that.
You're also not going to bring her home to meet mom.
No. She's a fucking pig
She's a
who
fucking
killed her kid.
child
And she's
murderer.
still cute, though.
Sure.
But that's it.
I agree.
We're not imbeciles here. Of course we know she fucking killed her kid. I mean, if you guys don't get the bit, I don't know what to tell you. But
God damn. And thus was the day of kayfabe dying.
well, you know, if I said she was not guilty or innocent, my wife would fucking murder me. So I don't really have a choice.
We'd have a fucking protest outside your house, probably. Like, people would be lining up.
She fucking hates Casey Anthony.
Like more than
I don't get
anybody-
it, man.
And more than anybody else. Like, I mean, this
Yeah.
one resonates with people.
It does.
And I don't necessarily blame them. But
I
it's
get
just
it.
more than like, hey, remember that
Yeah.
time that fucking Ariel Castro held 3 women hostage in his house and fucking raped them and beat them?
Yeah.
Killed their babies?
There's something about killing your own kid, and
Yeah.
I get it. And
It's all bad. It's all bad.
It's
is
just
what
all
we're saying,
bad.
Is what we're saying.
She's
We're not
I
making
think
a-
I think it's a lot of it is the fact that a lot of that stuff was public. Like the video of her conversation when she's like, you know, Cindy's like, they're saying that Kaylee's probably dead, and Casey's like, surprise, surprise, and rolls her eyes. Like that real flippant, not giving a fuck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or getting
Really
a tattoo after she knew she was dead, or at a hot body contest.
Contest.
Sorry, I'm a little.
The word is
hammered.
contest.
Contest.
Yes, sir.
Dancing like that when you know your kid's dead. Like what human can do that?
Not a good one.
And chances are,
Yeah.
and I mean, realistically, chances were that the night of the hot body contest, Kaylee's body was still in the trunk of the car.
I mean,
'Cause
that's-
the car didn't get towed until till what was it, June 30th.
Yeah.
So I mean, chances are, yeah, her body was probably still in the trunk of the car at
I mean,
that time.
it's unimaginable. It's unimaginable to think that a parent could function properly when their kid was missing for a half an hour, let alone doing things like this. When it's just, she's a pig. It's unimaginable. I don't know what else you can say about it.
Well, that leads me to my next question. Ian, anything else you got to say about this subject?
No, I mean, I can see why. I can see how the defense poked holes in it. You know, I think it was pretty aggressive to say that, you know, that she was knocked out with chloroform, and there was no clear-cut proof of any of that stuff. I mean, yeah, common sense tells you what happened in this case, but I don't think you should just use common sense.
They stretched and they lost. They stretched and they missed. Yeah.
I don't think you should just use common sense when you're talking about putting someone to death. I think you need that black and white evidence to do that.
Agree. Being guilty and being proved guilty are just not the same thing.
Yeah.
Dave, final thoughts, or did you give them all?
That was my final thought.
Boom.
I have nothing else on this.
I will say it reinforces my opinion on Jodi Arias.
Marriage material?
Yeah.
Of course, he's got to get that one in. All right, we got some Patreon shout outs. We got some new ones.
I hope so.
Shout out to Sneha, Sindhu, Ganavaparapu, Christina, Kaylee, Morgan Head, Abby, Samantha Davis, Justin Hessen, Luke Scrawny, Heather Ramage, Natalie Harrison, Smokin' Toaster, Lauren Pope, Megan, Sammy, Megan Lindell, Katie Jones, Michelle Perella, Tanner, Jordan, Ashley Moy, and then a makeup from last week. Apologies, I fucked up a name. So shout out to Ayla Cameron. Thank you very much. We are on patreon.com/Necronomipod.
People love to let you know when you pronounce their name wrong.
They really get into it. They really do. I try my best. I'm fucking drunk when I read them. What are you going to do?
They should give you a little leeway.
Literally, and I think people think like I look them up. Ian is in charge of it. He sends me the names.
Right.
And that's no blame on Ian.
Sure.
He literally looks up the names, sends them to me as we're about to start the show.
But he doesn't give you the phonetic spelling.
Of course not.
No.
He shouldn't.
But people are like, Mike's like, Bill Jones, and they're like, I know it's Bill Jones.
Yeah. You can Jonet my balls. Yeah, that's what it's like. So like literally I get the list while we're recording and then I see them for the first time as I'm reading them shit-faced. Which, by all means, I want to make things right. If a name's wrong, hit us up on one of the social medias.
Yeah.
Let us know. Send me the phonetic spelling of your name, and we'll make it right.
Absolutely. You always come through, Mike. Good job.
Well, I try. I don't know if I always come through, but I try.
A for effort, though.
Anyways.
Okay.
Trying to think where I go to next. I think I go to Ian next with his shout outs.
I have nothing tonight.
Wow. Dave, nothing.
I got nothing either.
No one's hated on us. We have a.
We just recorded it one day ago. That's why.
Well,
Yeah, give it time.
Kayfabe, motherfucker. They don't know that. But by the time they hear this, there'll be a new YouTube video out, right?
Yeah.
A formal statement by myself.
Mike Namapod has made a formal statement regarding recent comments about his choice of chairs in the studio.
That is on youtube.com/necronomipod. I just felt it was worthy of being addressed because there was so much discussion and inquiries and people concerned.
It's better to get out in front of controversy than to
We
let
addressed it.
controversy get out in front of you.
I addressed it.
It's done now. You've addressed it. The situation's complete.
youtube.com/necronomipod for that. We are also on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube at Necronomipod. Amazon.com, search Necronomipod. And Necronomipod.com if you want some koozies. We still got those going on, I think, right?
Yeah, there's some. I mean, order them so I can get rid of them.
Yeah, we got a lot of koozies. Just buy some koozies, people.
We're going to do like a koozies for floozies campaign here coming up just to get rid of them.
Floozies. We just spent the last 6 weeks, talking about the West Memphis 3 and Casey Anthony. It's been some deep shit. The last time we were 6 weeks deep into something like this was fucking Waco, Oklahoma.
Yeah.
And what the fuck was that place in Idaho?
Ruby Ridge, Mike. Ruby
That's
Ridge.
what it was.
Randy Weaver.
Yeah.
I'm fucking worn out. I'm ready to do something fun. This has been a lot of research for the past 6 weeks.
Yeah.
I feel like we hit a season finale tonight and we're only in the first week of February.
We'll be back in June. We're taking some time off. That's what we get when we let people fucking vote. I think we should probably stop that.
Well, they cheat, so we can't do that anymore.
Well, I do that. That's true.
What are you going to do?
Stop the vote. That's
Yeah.
what we're going to do.
People by nature are cheaters, so we
no
just
longer
can't have it anymore.
This is no longer a democracy. Okay. Thank you guys very much. Hope you guys enjoyed these episodes. Hopefully we didn't let you down. I think we gave you a very good, thorough Casey Anthony 2 parts. And Dave and I were as appropriate as we could be.
I think it was a great comparison to the duality of the justice system here.
Boom.
Yeah. And what we got Lil Jon unexpectedly, got Lil Jon, Larry Flint, and Nancy Grace all in one episode. So
I do a couple of power hours before every show.
I go, Casey Anthony, we'll get you on the next in March 2021 episode. Okay,
Let Ian regain himself. We'll get back.
all right, you guys ready for a cool down beer?
Cheers.